Hey everyone, it's Andrea Bleck again, back for another episode of my podcast. I'm not kidding. I think this is my 8th time trying to record this podcast. The other times there was thunder. I still think there's thunder. Hopefully it's not too loud. My cat was meowing slash screaming, clawing at the door, trying to get in. There were fireworks okay, it's almost the 4th of July, so that makes sense. But a lot of times people in this neighborhood set off fireworks for absolutely no reason. But today, okay, I get it. I feel myself getting sick, so I restart it. At this point, I'm just so determined to get this podcast done because I really love the topic and I've been so excited. I was going to wait until after the 4th of July to record this one, but I felt so compelled to do it today. Also, it was either record this podcast or go work out. And just being real, I did not want to work out today. Actually, I went on a 50-minute walk with my kids this morning, which was definitely a cardio workout because we don't have a double stroller because we don't have SUVs yet. So anytime it's just one of us with both kids on a walk, we have to take the wagon because, we can't just push both strollers. So my husband's sick. And I needed to get out of the house. The kids were just driving me nuts. So I'm like, let's go on a wagon ride. And it was raining a little bit. I didn't care. And so get them in the wagon. The only way, so my son is almost 4 and my daughter is 15 months. The only way my daughter enjoys the wagon for more than 10 minutes is if she has toys. So pack toys in there. But then she thinks that this is a really funny game. She starts to throw all the toys outside of the wagon, and then I have to stop and pick them up. But if we don't have toys, then she gets super cranky. So I brought a lot of toys, got both the kids in the wagon, and if you've pulled kids in a wagon before, you know that it's quite a workout. Going in the rain, little just a light drizzle, and my son wants to get out and play in some puddles. Okay, fine. So he gets out and he's just taken a really long time. So now we are super far from home and mommy has to pee. So I kept telling him, please hurry. I have to go potty. He didn't care. So he's just playing in all these puddles. Finally, I get him back in the wagon. And now I'm at a very brisk walk going back to the house because I really have to go potty. So I am sweating. It's humid. It ended up being like 50 minutes. So I count that as my workout. That makes me feel better. I'm going to count that as my workout. And now I'm finally going to get this podcast done. I'm excited about the topic because it is something that has impacted me a lot in my life and not in a positive way. And I think that it is something that has impacted a lot of people and has held us back from achieving a lot of great things in our lives. So, this thing that I'm talking about is fear. We obviously all know what fear is, we felt it before. But what is its purpose? So, our emotions are usually there because our mind or our body wants to keep us safe. So, we feel fear because our body is trying to protect us from something bad that could happen. So, this is a good intention, of course, and it comes in handy a lot of times. Like if you're crossing a street and all of a sudden this car is coming down the street really fast, you feel afraid, you feel adrenaline, and you get out of the way. Obviously, that's a good place for fear. However, we can oftentimes feel fear when we are thinking about doing something that could make us one step closer to our goals and our dreams. And this fear, unfortunately, can hold a lot of us back and prevent us from achieving our goals. There are some people that are fearless, even as adults, because we all know kids, little kids especially, they have little to no fear. They will just go do whatever they want because it seems fun. They have no control over their impulses. And there was this meme that I saw that really resonated with me. It was something along the lines of being a parent of little kids is basically just constantly trying to prevent them from hurting themselves or killing themselves, which is definitely true. And the reason is because kids don't understand that something bad could happen from what they're trying to do. They just think, they don't think, they want to do it. And this brings me to my point where fear exists only when we can picture a bad thing happening from the thing we're trying to do. And so, like I said, some adults are fearless. And a lot of these adults are very successful because there's nothing holding them back from trying to achieve their goals. And so, a lot of people, I would say more people, do have fear. And this can hold us back from what we want to do in life. There are two words that have very different meaning, but that I didn't really realize were different until recently. So bravery is more of a natural, innate quality that someone has, and it is a lack of fear. Courage is when someone feels fear, but they do the thing they're afraid of in spite of the fear that they feel. So bravery is more of a quality, and then courage is more of a conscious, often difficult choice. So, what are common things that people are afraid of? And I'm talking about if you know that you are talented at something and it's your dream, it's your passion, you want to do it, you want to take it a step further, but you're afraid. So, what are some common things that people are afraid of? Failure, of course, embarrassment, criticism, rejection, wasting time, wasting money. And people are often afraid that the thing they're trying to accomplish won't happen fast enough for them. So, all of these are very relatable. I have feared these things many times in my life. So let's break them down. Say there's someone who's really good at singing, but they're so afraid to put themselves out there that they never achieve their goal of becoming a successful singer. So what are some things that this person could be afraid of? Failure. For instance, they enter a competition and they don't win, or they don't advance to the next level even. Embarrassment. Say they fall off the stage when they're singing, they forget the lyrics, they sing out of key. They're afraid of being criticized by other people, criticizing their voice, their style of singing, the way they look. They're afraid that they waste all this time practicing, they waste all this money, maybe on lessons or maybe a plane ticket to get to the audition, and they fail. So that's wasted time and money. Or they're afraid that they put themselves out there, they sing, and they're not a famous millionaire overnight, or not even overnight, but it doesn't happen fast enough for them. And so I can relate. Um, these are very common things that people are afraid of. So most successful people that we see have feared at least one of these things. There are some successful people that are not afraid. They don't feel fear. They're not afraid to fail. They are not afraid of embarrassment. They're not afraid of criticism. They don't care what people think. They don't care if someone rejects them. They know that it might take a long time for their success, but they're willing to wait. They're willing to work hard. They don't care about how much time or money they put into it because it's their dream. So for some successful people, these factors aren't there because they don't have fear. They just go for it. But for a lot of us, we do have fear of these things. So let's break it down. If you are so afraid to pursue your dream because you're afraid of failing, then this fear of failure could prevent you from even trying or starting at all. I think there are people who, whether they do it subconsciously or knowingly, they would rather live their life without having tried and to say, well, I didn't achieve it because I didn't try. They'd rather live with that than to live with the fact that they did try and they failed. So they'd rather say, "Oh, I didn't go for it. So I don't know if I would have failed. I don't know if I would have succeeded either, but I just didn't do it." They'd rather the unknown than to take the chance of trying and not getting the results they want. Also, a lot of times you need to fail. You need to try one way of doing something and it doesn't work. Try some other way or try the same way again. I mean, all of these successful people that we see, they didn't become successful after the first thing they did. They're this, famous singer could have been writing music and singing for years before they made it. An author could have written 10 books before their 11th book became a bestseller. We look at these successful, famous people and we often get jealous of them because it's like, oh, it happened for them. Like, I want that. And we kind of assume that it was just natural and easy for them. But we don't always know their backstory. We don't always know the struggles that they had to overcome to get to where they are. We just see the success, but we don't always see what happened before. That's why I really love when celebrities come out with like documentaries or come out with their story of what it took to get to where they are. Afraid of embarrassment. I totally get it. But we're human. How many times have you seen celebrities embarrass themselves and it's caught on camera? They, fall off the stage. They say something stupid in an interview. They wear something that's, really, really weird and people make fun of them. We see this all the time. It's just a part of being human. Sometimes you're going to get embarrassed. Sometimes you're going to get criticized. This is something I deal with a lot. I'm really working on it. That if I in the past put myself out there and I got criticism, I would just curl up in a ball and cry. And I would want to give up, or it would take me a long time to try again. And I heard this quote that was something along the lines of, Don't take criticism from someone that you wouldn't take advice from. And as much sense as that made, it's still hard for me to really accept, because most of the time people criticize others and they're complete strangers. Like, people feel very powerful and comfortable behind a keyboard or behind their phone, saying something hurtful to someone they don't even know. Why should that affect us so much? It does a lot of the times, and I'm really working on it. But many times people do this out of insecurity. They see someone maybe pursuing a dream they want to pursue and they're a little jealous, and so they say something hateful. I also think that we can all be judgmental at times. I know we're not supposed to be, but it's kind of human. How many times have you been sitting with somebody watching TV and you make fun of someone you see on there? If they had heard what you'd said, it might hurt them. Maybe you don't go out and like make a comment on a public forum and say it to them, or comment on their Instagram or their whatever. Maybe you don't go so far as to say it to them, but we think it. And so I try to remind myself of that. If someone says something mean about me, I mean, how many times have I thought something judgmental of someone else? So I try not to take it personally. There are times when it can be constructive criticism. So whether you asked for it or not, maybe something that someone said actually is useful. Like, if someone tells me, I hate this podcast that you did, and I thought the topic was stupid, I would be hurt, but I could maybe think, oh, okay, noted. This person didn't like this. Maybe other people didn't like it. I'll keep that in mind for the future. And if someone maybe suggests another topic, that's great. That's good, constructive criticism. Maybe anytime someone criticizes you, whether you know them, whether you don't, whether you asked for feedback, whether you didn't, maybe try to take it through the lens of, is any of this information useful? If it is, cool. I will make note of it. If not, bye-bye. It's okay. So I'm trying to do that. Being afraid that you're wasting your time or money. So I have not put my time or money into something for fear of wasting time and money. For instance, I am actively learning Spanish. One of my goals is to be very fluent in Spanish. And there was a time when this program was $100 and it looked awesome, but I didn't get it because I thought, oh, $100, that's a lot. But then I thought, how many times have I gotten Chipotle? I've definitely spent more than $100 on that. And although it's delicious, unless, they get my order wrong, I don't really need it. But I'm so willing to spend money on that. Why don't I spend money on something that could bring me closer to my goal? And same with time. I know something could take a long time to achieve, but then I think, how much time have I wasted watching a show or, I don't know, doing something stupid? Why is it bad to put time and money into something that could bring us closer to our dream? I'm not saying you need to completely wipe out your bank account, but making a little investment in yourself and in your dream, we should consider that more. The fear that something won't happen fast enough. So I think especially these days with all this technology, And instant gratification, it's become so normalized or it's become expected. So, for instance, you post a picture on social media, everyone sees it instantly, you get likes, you get comments, oh, that's so awesome, like adorable, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't always happen like that if you put yourself out there for, your dream. You could put yourself out there and there's crickets. But should you stop just because it didn't happen instantly? Another example, we are used to seeing these ads like for a diet supplement. You don't have to work out. You don't even have to eat healthy. Just take the supplement and you will lose 30 pounds. We are used to hearing about things that are either instant gratification or take little to no effort in order to see results. So I think it just becomes ingrained in our brains that with anything we do, we should see results fast, or we shouldn't have to try that hard. But that's not the case. If something is really, really worth it, if you are dreaming this big dream, these big goals, it's going to take work. It's going to take some time. Very rarely does someone become successful overnight. So, again, all of these reasons to be afraid, they're very relatable. But if they're holding you back from actually trying, then maybe we should take a step back and look at them more closely. So, I would like to do an exercise. I would like for you to do it. I'll do it too. So, think about something that you really want to do, a goal you have, a dream you have. You know you're good at it. You really want to do it, but you're afraid to do it. So, think of something that you're afraid to do. Now, for me, I'll use the same example as before. I'm really trying to become fluent in Spanish, like to the point where it's like native fluency. And I know that one thing I need to do is to practice in real life with a native Spanish speaker. So I know I need to do this, but I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? I'm afraid maybe that someone will reject me and say no. But I've had quite a few native Spanish speakers offer to like meet up or talk on whatever, Zoom, Facebook video to practice. And I've said thanks, like I really appreciate it. And in my mind, it sounds awesome, but I haven't done it, even though I know it could take me so much closer to my goal and really speed up my goal. But I'm afraid. I'm also afraid of embarrassing myself and making mistakes. How many times do we make mistakes in our own native language? So why am I afraid to make mistakes in a second language? I'm afraid of criticism, but I need that criticism. I need someone to say, okay, you said that wrong, or I don't think you're using the word you meant to use. Can you imagine if I'm just speaking Spanish and I'm saying this word that I think means one thing, but it really means something that's insulting and no one tells me? We need that feedback. We need that criticism. I'm afraid of spending a lot of time and money doing it. Maybe spending money meeting up with these people, getting lunch, getting dinner, spending a lot of time. But again, big goals take a lot of time. I'm afraid of all these things. So, what are you afraid of? What's holding you back from taking the next step to achieve your dream? And think of these things that you're afraid of, like real life things like I just thought of from my example. If they did happen, would it really be so bad? If you failed on your first try, is that really so bad? If you embarrass yourself, we're going to embarrass ourselves in daily life anyway. If someone criticized you, is it really so bad? And if these things did actually happen, what could you do to overcome them? What could I do to overcome making mistakes in speaking Spanish with someone? I take notes. I try it again. What if I get criticized on my accent or how I'm pronouncing something? Do I just accept that I suck and I should just stop? No. Just take what they're saying. If it's useful, apply it. If not, move on. So, what can you do to overcome these things if they were to happen? And if you think of all of these ways to overcome your obstacles and you're still afraid to do this thing, can you try to do it despite your fear? If not, it could be possible that you don't want it badly enough. Because if you want something so badly, you're willing to go past that fear. You're willing to have the courage and put yourself out there. And if we're so afraid to fail, what is this failure? Like, for instance, for me, I publish a podcast and it gets a few views. Is that really a failure? I mean, maybe in my mind, but is the thing you're afraid that will happen? Just think, is it actually a failure? Also, something that I forgot to mention, people are afraid to do something because they think they're too old or they've already spent a lot of their life doing something else. So why start something else now? Now, I'm 30. I'm aware that's not old. My kids think I'm old. Like, my son thinks that he thinks I'm 40, and I keep telling him I'm not. I'm 30, but 40 is not even old, but he thinks I'm old. But I went to school for something completely different than what I want to pursue now. And I did go through this period of time thinking, like, I spent all this money, all this time learning something else. Why don't I just stick to that my whole life? But why would I do that? I was only 18 when I decided to go for what I got my degree in. So why spend the rest of my life doing something that I don't want to do? And a lot of people who are in their 50s, retirement age, they are retired maybe, and they want to pursue something, but they think, I'm too old. Say you're 50 years old, and we don't know how long we're going to live, but say you were going to live until you're 100. You have 50 more years. Are you really going to just not do what you want to do because you're too old? So just think of that. Would you rather do something you don't want to do because of this time limit you've set for yourself? So these things that we fear, these things that hold us back from what we want to accomplish, they're very relatable, very realistic. But I would like to just think of them actually think of what your fears are and why you're not taking the next step to accomplish what you want. And think, is it really worth it? Is it worth not even pursuing your goal and your dream? This fear is trying to keep us safe. But is it going to make us happy? So I'd love to hear your feedback and your criticism on this episode. Please let me know if you're questioning your next step, if you're questioning your fears. It's good to talk about it. It's good to challenge them. I know I would hate to look back at my life and think, I didn't do this because I was scared. All right. So I'm feeling good that I finally recorded this podcast. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And I'll be back soon for my next one.